About 10 years ago, I saw an ad on TV, and it had a woman scantily clad running through the streets of New York wearing a pink tutu. And she was launching her new perfume. And that perfume was Lovely by Sarah Jessica Parker, fresh from her Sex and the City success. And it got me thinking, because I know you probably can't tell, but I'm not a pink tutu wearing kind of person. But I assume there must be thousands of women, millions of women out there who would aspire to be her and would think, if only I could run through the city in my ballet kit. And they would think, I'm going to go into the shop, I'm going to buy that beautiful bottle, that beautiful pink box, I'm going to take it home, spray it on my skin. But what if they hated it? And that led me to a little mini epiphany that got me interested in scent and flavour and who we are as consumers. Because I think what we find is that perfume brands are thinking about the name, the packaging, the shape of the bottle, the advertising. And the last part of the consumer journey, of this journey, is actually the scent itself. And smell is very much trend related. It doesn't exist in a vacuum. We're all caught up, just like fashion, into scent. And I think it's very hard for us to say to somebody we don't like what they smell like, even harder perhaps than saying, yes, your bum does look big in that. So if we take it back a little bit to possibly the 1930s and 40s, the smell of the time was what we might call now old lady smell. So you might have smelt it on your grandmother perhaps, so like talcum powder, violets, in fact violet creams were the food of the time and still very popular with old women. That kind of smell and aroma is something that's very trend related. It's of that moment. But I think what we realise is that we're not very good at telling what we smell good in, a little bit like what we wear, and also what smells good on us. And so back in the 1980s in a department store, this was developed. Because I think you may have had this experience. You go into the store, you spray some on your wrist, you work up your forearm, you can't remember which one smells good. You leave the store smelling like air freshener and parties and cupcakes. It's all very weird and you get confused and you don't bother. Or you're overwhelmed by it and you need advice. And this is why this was developed. So the idea, the premise was that you would show this to the customer and the results were over the 80% success rate. And the customer would pick one of these rosettes they were most attracted to. And based upon that, the person in the department store would then be able to tell you what kind of fragrances you might like. So for example, if you're the sort of person right now that's attracted to the F, they would be telling you this. You're emotionally stable, you have an extroverted mood tendency, you're quite conservative, you're probably in the older age group, you like dark reds, greens, you radiate a warmth, you prefer well-made, durable things, and the sort of fragrances you might like would be woody, vetivers and tobaccos. And based on that, I extrapolated this a little bit forward and thought, well, you probably like nutty, smoky flavours, you like a barbecue, you love the smell of fire, you may smoke or come from parents who smoked, you like fresh air, you're the sort of person that would open the windows, and you're the type of person who would be likely to run away as a child. It's a lot of information, right? Brands love this. They're desperate to get this information about you so they can sell you products. And we're in the advent of olfactory marketing. Brands are doing this all the time. The Silver Shadow was the most popular Rolls-Royce ever made, and the Rolls-Royce still today spray that in every car that leaves the production line. Hamleys spray all of their stores with the fragrance of pina colada to make parents linger longer. Every single Timberland throughout the world smells exactly the same. Even the Eiffel Tower has a scent brand. Religions have been doing this for millennia. They know just how to heighten the experience of the congregation. So now we've got aroma jockeys doing exactly the same in clubs, playing the music, pumping out the smell, and giving their participants a much better experience. Flavoured billboards pumping out the smell of steak into the States with scent-branded stamps of indigenous species in Australia. Katy Perry scent-branded her 2011 California Dreams tour to smell like candy floss. And if anybody here is under 30, you will know the smell of Abercrombie & Fitch from 2 blocks away. Because we're really good at this. Guess are already doing it, scent branding their stores around the world. But one of the things we don't expect is that food brands are also in the game. So if you've walked past the M&M store, you may be familiar with that smell of chocolate wafting out. But actually, there's no smell of chocolate wafting out of an M&M because it's candy coated. It's the same with a jar of coffee. It's a glass jar with a plastic lid, but the smell of coffee permeates through the jar because it's embedded on the label. I think the best example of this when Morgaine launched their oven jacket potato. And in the bus shelters around Britain, you'd see this beautiful video of them melting butter over this piping hot jacket potato, and at the same time, the smell of butter wafting through as you waited for the number 67 bus. And of course, everybody went home and wanted that jacket potato. But the thing that often happens is that scent brands usually have very little to do with the product itself. I can assure you that the smell of Singapore Airlines that they scent brand smells nothing like in-flight meals and engine fuel, but smells of aspirational holidays to far-off places. So one of the things that we know is that we have a 10,000 scent recall. We can think, oh, I know the smell of that, but it's very hard for us to articulate what that thing is unless the object is there. So we might smell lemons, but we know it's familiar, but we can't put our finger on it, unless it's bubblegum. Bubblegum is the most easily perceived smell for us. It comes in 83%, and the one behind it is licorice. There are two most recognizable smells without the object present. So there were some studies and tests done on how good we are at perceiving smell. And there was an experiment with some blindfolded participants, and they took an everyday object, passed it in front of the noses of these participants and said, "What is it?" And they'd go, "Oh yeah, it smells familiar," they know that smell. And most people said, "That's a strawberry, smells like a strawberry." The second most common answer was fruit. The third most common answer was a flower. And the fourth was a cleaning product. And the object itself was an apple. So it just goes to show how difficult it is. And there's two reasons for that. One is that right now we're seeing seasonal vegetables available all season, every day, all the time. So are these things force grown, or they're being kept in storage so they don't smell as strong as or as fresh as they used to? But secondly, we're in a time where there is about 5,000 different encapsulated aromas developed, which trick us and mimic scents that we think we know. So, for example, apple flavour smells so much more like apples than apples themselves. So what does the real thing smell like? The head of different companies are working with this all the time, this encapsulated flavour and aroma release, so that it's meaty flavour. Is it more meaty than meat? We don't really know. We're very confused as consumers about what things taste and smell like based on what's really in it. What's the true ingredient? What's the natural ingredients? The head of IFF, which is the International Flavour and Fragrance House, they develop lots of encapsulated aromas. He said that the best blueberry flavour he's ever experienced didn't have a scrap of blueberry in it. So if we just go back a little bit, as I said, trend and perfume are very connected. And there was a time when vanilla, those very heavy perfumes, were really big. It was the late 90s. And those heavy perfumes also included that taste, that smell of vanilla. We want to roll in ice cream. We thought it was delicious. And this perfume was developed then. Some people still wax lyrically about it and wear it. I hope nobody in the audience is wearing it right now. Because there is a man, you may have heard of him, his name's Luca Turin. He is a quantum neurobiologist. He's analysed every single perfume probably that's ever been made and talks about what he thinks about the perfume. Now, it's very hard, as I said, for us to really be able to tell, does this smell good on me? Do I like it? Or am I part of a trend? Am I just getting caught up in it? But anyway, this is what he said in his analysis about Dark Vanilla by Coty. The name suggests a beguilingly sinful, high-calorie confection. Instead, the fragrance has all the charm and mystery of a neon-lit shopping mall and smells of cheap chocolates with a fruit heart, a case of pastel-clad obesity. That's why I hope no one was wearing it. Sorry if I've offended. I think what we can ascertain is that we are caught up in this high-caliber celebrity. We aspire to be these perfect people having the dream life, this magic that's almost unattainable. But the perfume brands themselves are really expert at selling this idea. No perfume brand sells the idea of what the bottle smells like inside. We have no idea what any perfume smells like until we get to the store. And that's usually the last part of our perfume journey as consumers if we buy into these ads. We develop our scent preferences around 3 months in vitro. And after we're being born, we're influenced by our age, our gender, where we are in our hormonal cycle, what the weather's like, what era we're born into. We're influenced by all of these things to make us decide whether we like the smell of something or not. But I can tell you that the future of perfume and scent, the people who are focusing on that the most are not the perfume brands. It's the olfactory marketers. It's the people who are selling you things that you didn't know you needed. Another pair of boots, a toy your children desperately want, more brand loyalty within their hotel. They're desperate to sell you the scent that's going to get you to buy the product because they want you to go into their stores. It's a bit more about all of the touch points. It's look at me, see me, hear me, feel me, smell me, buy me. But the future of scent is very different because we as consumers are going to understand that all of those constructed smells we're going to start associating with the brands themselves. And so the future of perfume is very different. Perfume makers, nosers, beware, because the future of scent and perfume smells a lot more like you. Thank you.
Thank you.